on the street, sorry.
That's what I was just saying.
It's coming. Let's see here. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, April 13th, 2021 special City Council meeting. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Nadolski, who is asked to be excused. In reference to the chair's determination, we read that at the beginning of the work session, so that has been read, and so we'll not read that at this time. We'll go ahead and begin with a Pledge of Allegiance offered by Vice Chair White.
Thank you, Chair. Please rise if you are able. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair White. Now we would ask those who are with us if they will observe a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. First up, we have two items listed under common consent. First is the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment for the Swift Site and Weber River environmental remediation, and the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment for the 4C property purchase. And this is to set public hearings on both of these items for April 27th, 2021.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve set the public hearings on both items for April 27th.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Chaburka to approve the two items listed under common consent and set the public hearing for April 27th. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. Next, we have reports from the administration. First is the Quality Neighborhoods Initiative Program Renewal. And we have Ward Ogden here tonight. Maybe we have one.
I have to learn to unmute.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
So we are doing this. And we'll share the screen. Share that screen. And hopefully you can see the Quality Neighborhoods Initiative renewal proposal for fiscal year 22.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We have had two work sessions so far in the past few months, and we are now here to ask for the resolution to be adopted, which will move through the and adopt the renewal of the Quality Neighborhoods Initiative. There we go. Okay. Quality Neighborhoods Initiative, get to the right slide. Quality Neighborhoods Initiative represents an evolution of strategies that we've used in the past and some that are currently in place. Some of these strategies and plans were generated through funding mechanisms and others through local policy decisions. The Quality Neighborhood Initiative was adopted first in November of 2015 by a joint resolution between Ogden City, the mayor, and the RDA. It's a combined vision for urban renewal, and the mission statement is to stabilize and revitalize Ogden's neighborhoods as neighborhoods of choice by establishing a pattern of public investment that catalyzes desirable and appropriate community development. It contains, its primary focus is on the health and vitality of neighborhoods. Its guiding principles provide a mechanism for council to make policy decisions. It contains a framework for implementing the mission and the guiding principles. And it has some general strategies that involve how the funds and the efforts are targeted, how resources are developed, and how the strategy and initiative is marketed and developed. The core area that was initially established was the downtown neighborhoods, the East Central neighborhood, neighborhoods surrounding the downtown area. This is a map of the overall area that includes areas of concentrated strength, potential strength, and those that have some impediments to the health of the neighborhood. And really the reason that this area was initially focused upon and was in the East Central strategy adopted in 2004 is that it's been a long-term kind of challenged area. In 1951, these residential areas were zoned R5, which is a high-density residential zone in the East Central and was mostly commercial south of the CBD. It had resulted in a large shift away from stable single-family homes and into a model of speculation and removal of value through taking income and not reinvesting required improvements. 69% of the units in this area are single-family homes, but only 39% of those single-family homes are owner-occupied. So it's not really about the relative value of a renter versus an owner, but it's really trying to address the issues of the long-term impacts of only 60% of up to 60% of the homes that have a kind of an altered maintenance investment plan, traditional owner-occupied home. And it's about also remediating those effects of those large and intrusive commercial and various types of intrusions that were instituted into those neighborhoods. A couple of examples are the site at 550 24th Street, where there was a large dilapidated commercial building, and then up the street on 24th Street at Fowler, where the Ogden bungalows are, was another old dilapidated commercial building and a big vacant site. So those are a couple of the types of things that were addressed as kind of remediating some of those effects of those zoning decisions of the past. And currently we have a number of projects that are underway in these downtown neighborhoods, which we hope to have underway and many completed by the end of the 5-year period. And then as these projects are working towards completion, that we will be looking to address potential development projects in other areas of Ogden. And those projects that are underway right now are the Stonehill homes at 22nd Street. They're just about done. They'll be done next year. We have the vacant commercial site at 550 24th Street. We have another infill housing opportunity at the 2300 block of Quincy. And we have the Rite Aid block. We have the East Temple block. Those are some projects that are currently underway and have a lot of acquisition done. A lot of the land acquisition is done and are needing a little more investment and will be undertaken in the next few years. However, while the downtown neighborhoods have been the primary focus, a number of projects and programs are available and have been available citywide. And this is a kind of an outline of some of those programs. The Own in Ogden program provides down payment assistance to low and moderate income home buyers. The typical loan is $5,000, but there are cases where it can go up to $20,000. We have a low interest home repair loan program called the HELP program. We have an emergency home repair program for very low income persons that helps with emergency repairs, and they don't require payments on those loans. We have a rehab resale program that we've done a lot of homes in the downtown area, but is also available citywide. We have $1,000 grants for neighborhood groups doing volunteer work. Those are some of the things that have been available citywide. I'd like to talk briefly about some of the accomplishments that have been done. Just in the last year, we've had 88 housing projects completed. As you can see, new homes, 9 new homes were built and sold, 8 homes were renovated and sold, and 71 down payment assistance loans were given for a total of 88 projects. And 92% of those homes were acquired by low and moderate income households. Historically, the programs have resulted in significant investments and improvements in the Ogden. The city has invested approximately $65 million, and we've identified almost 3,400 projects, from infill housing, renovation programs, homes that are fixed up and sold, down payment assistance, loans for renovation to homeowners, unit reduction where homes were converted back to their original use from being carved up into apartments, some public improvements, volunteer projects, a lot of these projects, $65 million. So it's just kind of a snapshot of what we've been able to accomplish. We've identified that 98% of these projects benefited low and moderate income participants. And the average participant in our programs is an Ogden resident whose income is about 50% of the area median income, and is just about at where the Ogden's median income is, which is about $55,000. And the prior residents in Ogden, 67% of the participants came from Ogden. That's just kind of a snapshot of what we've been able to accomplish historically. Want to briefly talk about the other source of funds, which over the past 5 years, we've had $1 million a year. And this reflects where those funds were invested. A number of projects involved acquisition, and you can see the status that some of the renovation projects of important historic buildings that were purchased and renovated and sold were complete, but some of the big projects, such as the East Temple Block and the 550 24th and 23rd and Quincy Rite Aid site, still not complete, but are partially funded. $3 million was spent on those projects. $2.4 million was spent on repaying the Synchrony debt, which we'll show in the next slide. And then we've received $1 million in program income. So we have a balance of about $400,000 left. The Synchrony funds are borrowed funds from the Synchrony Bank line of credit. We borrowed $2.4 million and we paid it back, as you saw on the former slide, with the Quality Neighborhoods money. And they were also used for basically the same purposes: acquiring land, demolition, and site clearance for some important projects, including soil remediation and demolition of the 2501 Quincy muffler shop. There are a few recommended changes and updates to the Quality Neighborhoods Initiative in the property targeting section. I'll just kind of briefly read those. While selected properties should be primarily in target neighborhoods in the East Central area, a significant portion of city funds are available for use citywide, as we mentioned just a minute ago. And And then the focus on restoring historic properties where possible. And another category would be develop new and renovate housing primarily in target neighborhoods, which demonstrates best practices in implementing city codes and ordinances, which facilitate a variety of housing types. One of those housing types we pointed out is accessory dwelling units. That's a new and upcoming concept that we're hoping to be able to find ways to show best practices and how that could be accomplished. Those are some changes that are recommended. Overall, we're recommending that the 5-year plan be renewed starting in fiscal year 22. And we will see another discussion after this regarding the use of the $1 million from the Quality Neighborhood funding from the BDO. And then in the RDA meeting, we will talk about the Synchrony Bank line of credit. So that's our recommendation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ward. Are there any other questions for Ward or?
Chair, I have a question.
Yep.
Ward, some folks have asked me, just so we understand better. So I know that we're just kind of talking about the $5 million right now, but in general, it seems like since we're asking market rate for the homes, that we're selling, why do we actually need this infusion of cash over time if we're just replenishing the cash, when we sell the homes?
Right, that's a good question. And it really comes down to what happens when we, getting back to the use of the funds, where do the funds actually go? It goes mainly towards land acquisition and demolition. And we're buying properties. For instance, if you look at the 550 24th Street site, and we've seen that over the years, when the council approved that acquisition, it was a vacant building that had been sitting there for many years. It had value, but it needed a lot of work, and it was determined that the work wasn't really, it wasn't appropriate or desirable to renovate the building, but it did have value. And so generally what happens in the redevelopment projects is that you have to buy out that value in order to get it down to just basic dirt. And so that value does not get recovered. Generally, most of that value, it really is just changing a use on land or converting something that was dilapidated but still had value into something that doesn't, the dirt doesn't have a building on it, and so that building has no value, but we had to pay for it. So hopefully the public can understand that we're not really recovering. As you saw, we recovered of that $5 million, we recovered 1 million of it. So it's something that we basically do an investment in order to achieve a redevelopment purpose. Hopefully that's understandable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Ward, this $1 million is actually a key element for how you're going to accomplish some of your goals. And would it be difficult if you didn't have that $1 million?
Yeah, it would.
That $1 million probably sets a foundation for you, but I imagine it would be quite difficult for you to operate.
Right. It's a good point. As I mentioned earlier, there's a number of the accomplishments that were done with the other sources, not the BDO money. Most of the budget, actually, there's a $6.6 million budget for projects that address community development projects, such as that address low and moderate income households and helping them get into homes and fixing up neighborhoods. There's $6.6 million, and then on top of that, there's another $1 million, which is the BDO money, and that achieves different purposes. It achieves these redevelopment things where there's some very difficult properties to develop. that are have real challenges. Think of the New Life Apartments, which was not a good place for the tenants that lived there. They were living there, but it was really in desperate need of, and it was dangerous. And so we ended up purchasing that and relocating those tenants and getting them in better places, but the building was in really sad shape. And so we had to, those are the kind of things that we couldn't do any other way. We couldn't do the 550 24th Street project any other way. So yes, it's a critical foundation.
Chair, could I ask a question?
Yes.
So Ward, on that 550 24th Street project, where it was a commercial building that just kind of lost interest, I guess. What role does tax increment and those kind of things play to redevelop that property that still requires this inflection of, some of this money we're talking about today?
Right. Tax increment could be, it's not currently in a tax increment area or an area where we can achieve tax increment, but that's certainly possible. And it can produce a portion of the equity that is needed for the project, but it certainly can't replace the level of investment that the BDO money did.
So is that something that could be used? I mean, I don't think we have a developer for that property right now. Is that right? We're just trying to get it to where it's not an eyesore. Is that the
Right.
point of
Yes.
demolishing the property?
We're still working on concepts and finishing up some engineering and finalizing some legal things regarding the land. So yeah.
But so now that we've got it down to bare dirt and we get a developer in there, then the city can take advantage of the tax increment. We don't have to give it to the developer anymore. Is that?
Well,
So-
yes, the city gets the, depending on which type of increment you're talking about, just the taxes that are now achieved through doing the development, certainly, yes, that comes to the city.
Yeah. We're not having to use it to entice a developer is kind of what I'm saying.
Not at the present time. That's not something that we're talking.
All right, thank you.
I have one more question, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up a little bit on, Council Member Lopez's comments and, some other things we talked about. I know it's only been a week, I think, since we talked about it, but, has there been any further thought about other models besides the single family home for moving forward in the next 5 years?
Certainly. We're currently looking at townhomes. We're looking at ADUs. So those are the two that we're currently working on.
Great, thanks.
Okay,
I have a
thank you.
question, Chair.
Yes, please.
So, what is the how much are the homes selling for the Stonehill project, Ward?
Stonehill, they're just over 400,000 right now.
Okay. So let's see. Okay. Can you almost in one of your last slides, you had a bullet point that said something develop new and then something about dwelling units. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is, what that means?
Not sure exactly which slide you're referring to.
Maybe you have to pull them up and go towards the end of your slides. I can identify it. I just didn't have a chance to write it down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it was towards the end of your slides. It says.
And it was in the recommendation, develop new and renovate housing primarily in target neighborhoods, best
I
practice.
think so. I think so. Yeah, and I think at the very end said dwelling units.
Yeah, accessory
Yeah,
dwelling.
yeah. That. Yeah.
Mhm.
What? Can you expand a little bit on that, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, an accessory dwelling unit is something that's consistent with an Ogden City ordinance that allows for an owner to have another unit on their single family property. It could either be in the basement or it could be a separate unit on the separate building. And there's some size regulations, and you have to be an owner occupant, et cetera, and that. So, but generally it's just building another unit that someone can live in and they can achieve some rent from.
Okay, and I think I know what a dwelling unit is, but I'm not sure how is this in the context of your presentation. Why are we talking about dwelling units? I couldn't understand that.
Sure. Well, as we look at opportunities for doing development projects, that's one of the items that we thought we're really trying to show what's the best practice for doing good projects that revitalize the neighborhood, that owners can undertake, or investors who purchase property that they can undertake. And we'd like to be able to say, we've done something, we've tried it out, and here's some things that we can show to the public that might be good practices. So we're trying to find ways that we can introduce these new concepts in such a way that others can replicate them and they could see that they could be successful for them.
So is this related to what Councilwoman Chaverka just asked about thinking on ways to have more price accessible housing? Is this related to that?
Yes, absolutely.
It is.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I have another quick question again. So one of the ways to keep houses affordable is to have housing or put them in housing land trusts. So where we have big chunks of land, like at 555 or whatever, 24th Street,
Mhm.
is it possible to put part of that into a land trust and keep some of those houses affordable and then have some of them be at market rate?
Those are concepts that can be looked at as I mean, a land trust is something that is certainly a legal mechanism that is doable. I mean, they do them in different cities. So the question then would be, what's the overall strategy for our overall program? And the reasons that we've done certain projects that are at market rate versus others, as we've seen in the slides, most of what we've done is benefiting low and moderate income people, and we're addressing modest priced homes and fixing them up and making them really nice for people. And we have done a couple of subdivisions, Legacy Park, well, actually 3, Lauren Farr and the cottages down at 27th Street for low and moderate income households. But some of the projects are by their nature intended for a market rate. It's one of our objectives to introduce opportunities for people to take advantage of living in the downtown. And so that's why Stone Hill was done the way it was. It wasn't really intended to be a low income affordable project. It was intended to be a market rate project that could entice people to live downtown that may not otherwise choose to. And so the 550 project is sort of aiming in that direction because of where it's at, and its proximity to downtown and its potential for a high-end potential market. So at least that's the direction that we're heading with it. But those are just some things we can toss around.
Right, and I understand that, and I think what I'm getting at is where we have larger, where we can put multiple units. Could we put 1 or 2 of those houses in a land trust where it would always stay affordable, and the others around it would be at market rate? And I don't know that. I mean, I understand the concept of what you're saying. I'm just wondering in order to keep, a few of those houses affordable into perpetuity. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something to look at. We could look at that as we look at the pro forma for the, because they have to achieve a return.
Right.
And so somehow they'd have to be able to be sold to, and so if you did a land trust for affordable on something that's real nice, it may have to be subsidized. So, but that's just a question we can deal with as we get into it.
I like that idea too, because I think over time, you wouldn't do it on all the land we have or do it everywhere. But if you did a targeted approach, then you do actually control the land. When we see that, some of those houses that originally were $250,000 are selling for $465,000, and that's just going to continue to grow, which of course is good on one hand, right? Because people are getting equity out of their homes. But on the other, definitely pricing some people out too. So I think there's definitely a balance maybe that we could have.
Yeah, and that concept could be employed in a number of different sites as well. And we'd all have to get together and talk about which site is appropriate and how to make that happen. I don't have the analysis on that right now, so I couldn't say.
And I understand why you wouldn't want to do all, and I understand that. I get that. And then have we looked at any of the building codes as far as the minimum lot size and minimum housing unit that we might build, so that people could actually afford and have an asset and legal, have a legal asset in their name? So it may be 900 square feet in a smaller lot versus a 1,200 square foot and a little larger lot. So more like a cottage homes or, little smaller homes, not tiny homes, but just a smaller footprint. Have we looked at any of that kind of building? Maybe
that's really kind of a planning question. I wish I knew a little bit more about that, where they're going with those kinds of discussions, but I think that may be a good thing to bring up with the East Central rewrite, for the community plan.
Can I bring something up?
Yeah.
It seemed, my recollection was 6 years ago when we did the first installment of this Quality Neighborhoods Initiative money. The point was that we had to increase the income level near our downtown in order to attract retail people, etc., to the downtown to develop that, so that it filled up the store fronts and things of that nature. I think it might be counterproductive if we're trying to figure out how to make sure we get people that don't make as much money in that area. Am I wrong there? Or?
No, I think you're exactly right, and that's kind of why originally the thought was that we would try to do some projects that would entice people with a bit more income, more discretionary income. And when you look at the balancing act there, Ogden, particularly the downtown neighborhoods, have really, by and large, those, by comparison, they have a lot of affordable housing. And so, we always want to think about, creating opportunities for people to purchase homes that are affordable. The reality is like last year, we helped 71 people buy a house, and they were affordable to them. And they were, when you compare that to, 6 or 8 per year, compared to all the other ones that we do, we're really talking about a small proportion of the overall investment that we're doing that goes to make opportunities for upper income or people with a little bit more income, so to speak. So while we do focus on affordable housing with almost all that we do, we still feel it's appropriate to create opportunities for people with a different income strata, different housing options, different housing choices. And it's very successful. And so at least that's our bias, is that we need to have those kinds of projects, not only for the housing opportunity, but for the redevelopment image, and the fact that we're building kind of some legacy projects. These will be historic homes in the future because they're built well and they're designed well. And so it just basically respects the neighborhood. It says this neighborhood is a great neighborhood. It needs redevelopment in some areas, but it's worth investing in, it's worth living in, it's worth buying an old home and fixing it up, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really why we're doing some of these redevelopment type projects with the BDO money.
Can I just make a comment back to what Councilmember Heyer mentioned?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I think, you know, if you've tried to buy or looked at the real estate listings lately, you would notice that, you know, it's going to continue to be harder and harder for anybody to afford a house, no matter what level income they are. I think if we're talking about homes right now that are at $400,000 as the baseline, then I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about how do we create some more opportunities for people. Even if a person is able to purchase a house that's $190,000, it doesn't mean that they don't have discretionary income. And if there's more of them on one plot of land, then there's more people living in the area that can actually purchase things from a grocery store or buy services from other people. So I think it's very short-sighted to compare today's real estate market with what was going on 5 years ago, perhaps.
I think I can agree with that. I just think that you know, we've got to keep the eye on what we initially tried to do. As you know, we were having a lot of retailers that were moving on, going somewhere else because they put their pin in the map and did the survey of how much money was made in an area, and they didn't see it as practical to locate in our central business district. And that's what it was presented to us 6 years ago as why we wanted to start this quality neighborhoods initiative, is to raise that level. I really get that it's hard to, you know, real estate has gone up in crazy numbers. I personally believe it's just a supply and demand issue as much as anything. You know, if we had more real estate supply, the houses wouldn't be so much money. It's capitalism.
Now we can agree on that. That's actually what I'm talking about. Is creating more opportunities for housing.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Ward. Is there any other questions or comments?
I just have one more comment and then I will stop talking.
Okay.
I guess I'm just curious, and I know I feel like, I'm kind of repeating myself, but, you know, we talked about this kind of ADU idea or the land trust idea or more high density. I feel like we've talked about this in a couple different conversations. And I'm just trying to figure out when can we actually make a plan about it. Ward, you kind of said, oh, we'll need to get together and have a meeting and target those land areas. Does anybody have any idea when we might do that? Or who are the people that need to do that to make something happen? Help me out here, Janine.
We have talked a lot about it, and I have not sensed a majority of the council is interested in moving that way. So if that has changed, then it's a policy decision that you can make, and we can put some, you know, some draft language together to change the policy. But that's that we've had several discussions about this, but not received direction from a majority of the council.
I guess I just want to say I don't want to put it all on Ward's head because I think it is a broader conversation too. So I don't mean to take up your space, Ward, but it just happens to be here. Sorry.
So
Glenn, I
just
don't know if you had any comments.
Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
So I agree with Councilwoman Taberka, and actually what I would say is I understand both sides of the issue. I think they're easy to understand. Real estate market forces, just things that are outside of anyone's control, versus interventions that maybe we could be actively trying to implement. So I'm not saying that we have to do something. I'm saying that we need to find out if we can do something. I'm saying we should find out, just like I think with any other project. I mean, look at how long the BRT project has been taking, right? I mean, that's been going on for years, right? For years and years and years. And it's been studied and it's been, you know, and so, you know, again, I get it. There's just this feeling that some of us have about the this really big issue, which potentially also involves other issues related to, you know, maybe homelessness and gentrification. And so, you know, some of us, I think, in our conscience are saying, hey, we need to speak up. And we're not, I'm not blaming anybody. Again, you know, probably very difficult issues to deal with. I think they're happening. I said this last time. I think they're happening everywhere in the country. It's not just us. But to me, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about it and that we shouldn't try to see if there's something we can do. And so, you know, it's just that simple. And I, you know, I would love to hear from the administration about this, because sometimes, you know, I mean, sometimes it feels like, you know, and that's fine. I mean, that's the nature of our government, is the separation of powers, and, you know, and I'm one of 7, so I get it. It's fine. But it is what it is. And the least we can do is, like you said, Janine, see maybe where people are with wanting to have this conversation or not, and see where the administration is with wanting to learn about what's happening and identifying if there's some. So that's my piece. So I would love to hear from administration on my comments if it's possible.
I'm the one that's doing the presentation, but I don't really have all the answers. I know that we're doing a housing, a set of questions and kind of talking points on housing policy. So I know that's forthcoming, and Tom's been working on that. So I do know that that's happening. I know that the East Central Community Plan is definitely an opportunity to talk about policy, because that's what it is. So those are a couple of opportunities that I know are coming right up.
I would say we haven't heard anything tonight we're unwilling to have dialogue about. And I think there's some good ideas that have been suggested, and it's something that we're happy to talk amongst the administrative side, and then maybe sit down and have some dialogue with both the administrative and the council side.
I have a quick question then. Is there a reason why we have to do this?
Part of the reason was to try and put the budget together that we're bringing you in a couple of weeks. I think allocating setting the program in place for another 5 years, I mean, I think there still can be a lot of dialogue about how we go about the program in the next 5 years. And so that dialogue's still open, whether you pass this ordinance or not tonight.
I guess okay, I swore it was my last comment, but I'm just gonna say one more thing. That's my job, I guess. It's my job here. My challenge is that because we haven't written into this policy, or we haven't explicitly said that these are things we want, because it sounds like I'm hearing from council staff, we don't have a consensus on what we want changed. So I'm feeling like the only thing I can do is vote against it to show that I want something to be different, but it doesn't mean that I don't find value in the program. So that's where I'm having a little bit of a conflict, is that I don't know how to move forward unless there's some specific plan to talk about these things and how we might, and I'm not saying they're the answer or that we definitely want to do any of them. I just am not sure how to move forward to have it actually happen.
Do you have any ideas of what changes you want to make?
All of the ones that we mentioned
Idea?
before. Yeah, all of those.
All of what?
Maybe we could share the minutes. ADUs, more high density, more maybe the land trust, some other ideas about what we could do besides the single family homes.
There are some citizens that are very concerned about the high density in Ogden. I listened to the Planning Commission, and they approved townhomes up 12th Street toward the mouth of the canyon. And there's a lot of people up in that area that are very concerned about the density of the building in the area.
And I think that's a really good point, Councilmember Stevens, and I've heard that as well. And there's always going to be two sides, as we know. That's the nature of the work that we do. There's always going to be people that see things in different ways. I can see, I like one of the comments that was made, what Councilwoman Chaburka about as a follow-up to the comment from Councilman Heyer about the central business district housing, and how people in more midpoint incomes also have discretionary funding, and that could also be healthy to the central business district, to try to figure out how to do these kinds of projects. So I don't deny or disagree with you that there are some people that are concerned about these, but I think, just kind of going to my previous point, I think what I think maybe some of us are asking here is, how do we know that we can have this conversation? And actually, I'm gonna address Mark's comments. And thank you, Mark, for your response. I appreciate that. So do we have, would we be able to change course if this passes today on what kind of developments we want to create, if we decide that we want to have a conversation and rethink what we're doing? Maybe that's enough. Maybe Janine could help us, maybe, or whoever wants to jump in.
So what you're considering tonight is renewal of the program. Right now, there's no funding associated with it. What Mr. Johnson said is that they're going to propose, when they bring the budget for that first $1 million, the first million of 5 million, with the FY22 budget. You have control of the budget. You can always, and we've done this before, that money set aside in fund balance until you decide how until you're happy with how it's going to be expended.
Okay, okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So my last comment, I would say then that I would respectfully ask leadership, Councilman Blair and Councilwoman White, to figure out a way to help us gauge the interest, as Janine was saying before, that she wasn't sure. It sounds to me like there's some pretty good in this meeting today, but I don't know how you go about that exactly. But I would like to you know, ask you to please look into that. And you know, again, it's fine. You know, we speak our minds, we vote our conscience, we make decisions, and nobody can ever get everything they're hoping or asking for, but at least addressing and exploring and confronting the issues, that debate should happen. So that's what I would ask of you, please.
Okay. I would assume Janine's wrote that down, but I've wrote that down in some of the other topic or comments that have been made also. So
Thank you so much.
okay. Any further discussion, or we can entertain a motion?
Chair, I'll make a motion that we adopt proposal joint resolution 2021-4.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Stevens and a second by Vice Chair White to adopt proposed resolution 2021-4. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Traburka,
No.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez,
No.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Blair.
Aye. That passes. Would either Councilmember Traburka or Councilmember Lopez want the opportunity to explain your dissenting vote?
Yes, I think I explained it earlier, but you know, overall, I think that the Quality Neighborhoods program has been beneficial and there's some great elements of it. I just feel strongly that we need some other considerations put in writing within the program in order to vote yes. That's all.
For me, it's the same pretty much, Chair. I think I spoke enough about this, and so
Okay.
I feel good. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Okay, next is the Business Depot Ogden Lease Revenue Ordinance Amendments. And we have Lisa Stout and Mara Brown here tonight.
Thank you, Chair Blair and members of the council. And I am pleased to be here this evening to present to you. And this is a part of it anyway, that I will be presenting the proposed modifications to the BDO lease revenue ordinance. Part of this is a corollary to the presentation that you just had on quality neighborhoods, and at least a couple of the recommendations are separate from that. So I will go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay. Can you see my screen with the BDO proceeds first slide?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so this, the proposed ordinance is sort of the next step is in order for this BDO lease revenue ordinance sets the direction of how those lease revenue proceeds are expended. And this a modification is necessary for the administration. The requests that are being made, one of them is, as we're just presented to you, will be to renew the Quality Neighborhoods Program for another 5 years. And so that would be another $1 million per fiscal year put into the budget for 5 fiscal years. So that is part of it. And the other part of that will be to add $1 million to fund the changes to the Marshall White Center. And then also, as was, there were some questions asked about this during the work session, but the other recommendation is being made to expire the direct funding to the HELP program. And I'll try to answer some questions about that in the next slide. But again, the changes are necessary because the Quality Neighborhoods Initiative, as you know, was sunsetting, and then also the HELP program was sunsetting. So a couple of questions that came up about the HELP program. This has been a popular program, and there is still funding left to lend for this. So a question was asked of whether this program is now sustainable. It is a revolving loan funding program, so that the approximate or the average amount of a loan is $13.5 thousand, and during FY 26 new HELP loans were issued. And we're looking at approximately about $100,000 comes back into that fund annually. And there are about, right now, there's 845,000 or 75 loans outstanding due to the payment periods. But administration does feel that as it stands right now with that $1.2 million balance, that this is presently sustainable, but that it will be evaluated annually just to make sure that the funding continues to be stable, because it has been a popular program. So again, the proposal is to add back in and to continue with the $1 million annually for the Quality Neighborhoods Initiative, and then also to add back in $1 million or to add newly $1 million annually to be reserved for the Marshall White Community Center. And that can be for debt service or construction. And as you know, there's no specific plan for that, and any appropriation that would be made for the administration to expend there would have to come back to the council. There is right now there is a CIP for that for the study, and that would be modified with any proposal that the city council, that the administration would have to expend those funds. So that is essentially the other bullet points on there are the current, the current expenditures of the BDO lease revenue. And again, the proposal is to modify the ordinance to continue with Quality Neighborhoods and to add $1 million annually for the Marshall White Center.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for Mara?
Sure, I just have one question.
Okay.
I'm curious, is this a situation where we could pull out one of the line items to vote separately, or are these all going to be voted on together?
So right now the proposal is a single ordinance. And we don't have a substitute for you right now this evening. So that is the proposal, is actually to make those changes that I presented.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Chair Blair, if I might
Yes.
comment, if the council wanted to separate those two items out, then we could, you could continue this item to a different date until we could get those ordinances in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
That we table this item until they can separate those two items.
I would second that.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Vice Chair White to table this item, I guess, to a date certain, and so that they can separate these two, separate this ordinance into two. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And Council
Okay.
Chair, I would recommend that that be either April 27th or May 4th.
Okay. Do I need to put that in the,
Tables do need to have a date certain. Which one do you want?
I would suggest if we can have it by the 27th, that helps with the budget.
that's,
Okay.
We'll
that
have
works
it on
great.
April 27th.
Do we need to
Okay.
make it part of the motion, or are you just gonna take it as part of the motion?
So we'll go ahead and do that for the 27th then.
I think that's sufficient. I mean, we have it in the notes and in the minutes and on
Perfect.
record.
Fair enough.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mara. Next up is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding concerns or any ideas on any topic. We'll have Eric give us the rundown of how that will work, and then we'll go ahead and accept public comment.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. For those of you who'd like to participate in the portion of tonight's meeting, you must be joining us via Zoom. You can raise your hand by using the raise hand feature in the bottom of your application. Please remember to state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. At first, it looks like we have a Joanne Lawrence. So they will go ahead and get you unmuted, and then the time will be yours. Are you there?
Yes, is it okay to?
Perfect. Yep, go ahead.
My name's Joanne Lawrence. I'm an Ogden City resident. I just wanted to thank the council for tightening up the language on the Marshall White Center BDO issue. I think it's much more clear as I read through your information for tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay. Oh. Next up, we have Angel Castillo. Go ahead, Angel. The time is now yours.
Good evening, Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. I too would like to thank the council for tightening up the language on the Marshall White Center. It's imperative that it was very specific. Those funds go to the Marshall White Center, and I appreciate the conversations I had with members about that. I would like to talk about what just happened with regards to the proposal that Ward Ogden made for the Quality Neighborhoods program. I too agree with many of the council members that it's the Quality Neighborhoods program is a good thing. We've done some great stuff and some great work there, but we have to change the way that we're looking at providing housing. And when I say housing, I am not saying low-income housing. I am saying average median income, middle class, $50,000-$60,000 a year. Your teachers, your firefighters, your first responders, your police. One of the things that really needs to be reconsidered, and I wish you would have said no to this so that you can hold on to your power of controlling what needs to happen, is that the Stonehill homes are an average of 1,900 square feet on a 6,500 square foot lot. And if you continue to build as you are, no one's going to be able to afford them. I highly encourage you to look at different models, and not only just the community, the land trust that Marshall White brought up, but a community land trust. And people own the homes on those lands, following the Tempe, Arizona model, where they have 12 600-foot micro estates. They're freestanding homes. Just for some examples there, the Stonehill homes, you could, on one lot for the Stonehill homes, you could do 2 to 4 one-story 600-foot houses having small backyards. The smaller the property, the less the cost. Lumber is skyrocketing, and we need to look at doing things differently, allowing people to build equity and credit by owning. And we can do that by building condos, which are HUD approved. We can do that by building townhomes, which are also HUD approved. And when I say townhomes, I understand that Doug Stevenson had pointed out that he gets a lot of complaints. Those townhomes he's getting a lot of complaints about on 12th Street are large swaths of townhomes combined with multifamily apartments. It's a big push in one area. I'm looking for softer density. So I ask you to please consider and look at doing things differently, because if you don't, and you will approve this money as it comes through for the budget, nothing will ever change. People will still not be able to afford to live here, and your parents won't have a place to downsize when they age. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Okay, next up, we have Heath Sato. Go ahead, Heath. The time is yours.
Hi, everyone. Heath Sato, Ogden resident. Last week, I asked 6 very specific questions about the Brown Ice Cream Building property and the proposed development of that property. I know everybody's probably tired of hearing it, and I'm kind of tired of asking these questions, but these are the 6 questions I asked. How was the developer chosen? Where was the property listed and marketed? Where are the links to review these expired listings? How is it that the broker, the buyer, and the city all underestimated the square footage of the building and thus the value of that building by over half? And how can the RDA in good conscience not allow other qualified interested developers to bid on this project after the developer allowed your agreement with them to expire? And finally, why don't we have a formalized bid and selection process for RDA properties like a real city? Now, I understand that I'm asking questions that the mayor doesn't want answered, questions he also does not want to be answered by people he has appointed, questions I am more and more convinced he doesn't even know or care to know the answers to, but last week the mayor crossed a line. After I spoke, the mayor chose to only say that, quote, "I think we've given a lot of information to answer a lot of those questions, and so I'm not going to spend any more time on that." That is precisely where the mayor crossed the line. He lied. Not one of those questions has been answered. I get it that the mayor doesn't like me. He doesn't have to like me. I clearly don't care if he likes me. We can disagree. That's understandable, but that does not give him the right to lie about what I am saying. When I say these questions have not been answered, that is a fact. I am telling the truth. None of the questions I asked last week have been answered. His response only proves my point that our current system of choosing developers for projects is not transparent at all and lacks any form of accountability. The system is broken. When a citizen asks legitimate questions, instead of getting answers, they get bullied, they get gaslit, and they get told that their questions have been answered when in fact they have not been answered. And the mayor knows there's nothing anyone can do about it. due to how our current opaque process is set up. When the mayor is perfectly comfortable with lying to people's faces, we need a new process that won't even give him that option. We are relying on you, council, to make needed changes so we don't have to simply trust an administration that refuses to be transparent or be held accountable. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Heath. Next up, we have, it shows 126. So if that person would state their name and their address for the record, then the time could be, or the time is now, time will be theirs. Go ahead.
Hello, that is me.
Yes.
Oh, this is Sebastian Benitez.
Hello.
I hope everybody are. I did it. I want to say hi to everyone, and I want to support the last guy, and Angel Castillo was talking. And my concern is I want to say thank you to Luis Lopez too, to both know, and for Angela too. We need more information about it. And Luis Lopez asked for the administration. He requests some question or clarify the situation, and nobody show up. Anyway, my point for tonight is almost 2 years ago, the city received already the grant for the sidewalk between 32nd Street to connecting with Wasatch Elementary. Passed already almost 2 years. I talked with the administration, or not the top one, but I talked with the people usually make the job. And the answer is not really nice to receive it, but the grant was received almost 2 years ago to build the sidewalk, even on 36th Street too, on the north side of the 36, connecting Harrison to technically to Weaver State. I have connection inside the administration, and they are talking to me about that fund was not used in the right way. And that is really dangerous. It's dangerous because when the city receives a grant for some specific project, has to be used in that point. And I hope you guys take care my neighborhood. I am fighting for my neighborhood for many years, 6 years already. And we got a really good progress on our park, on the fixing some street, etc. But this one has to be done, please. And if you guys can help us, the Wasatch Elementary sidewalk, plus the construction, changing the pipe, the water pipe there is a really danger. I have so many videos to show you guys, if you need it, how the children walk on the street. Thank you for your help, and thank you for your service, guys.
Sorry, thank you, Sebastian. Let's see, I don't know if I see any others. I don't see any other hands raised. So with that, we can go ahead and do comments from the mayor, or comments from the mayor.
Thank you very much. Several of you were at the groundbreaking today for the BRT, something we've worked on for almost 20 years now. Construction's already started on Weber State's campus. It's a wonderful thing that everyone has worked very hard on. We're excited about the electric buses. We're excited about the route. We're excited about the amount of money that we received from the feds. And we feel very good about our partners. It was just a great event, and we celebrate that great thing. And that will help a lot of the neighborhoods that BRT will actually run through, including the Rite Aid block, which was talked about in work session. What you heard in the work session, I just wanted to announce in the council meeting with the new airline that'll be starting May 4th, 6 flights a week from Burbank to Ogden and back. We're very excited about that. We think that that'll be a nice feature. The initial pricing I saw was like $19 a ticket one way. So if you have a family and you want to take them to Disneyland, that's a pretty good price to be able to go. So we're excited about that. You all know about the windstorm we're going to have tonight. I want you to know that we have crews ready. We've been planning so that if we truly get the 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, that we'll be ready. We'll have our police and fire out doing what they call a windshield survey to see where the damage is. If you see damage around the, I encourage you to let me know, and we will get crews out there as quick as we can. We try and take care of the trees that might come down if the winds are high enough that block roads first, and then we move from there. So we're very aware of it. We're hoping people will tie down trampolines and things that can blow away in their yards. Some of you, I heard, were doing that in between the work session and the council meeting. But tonight could be a lot worse than last night was. Finally, on the sidewalk, I need to do a little research on that. I know the grant was announced a little while ago, but I don't know that we've received the funds yet. And I think that that's why the sidewalk hasn't been done. I know it's still scheduled to be done probably this summer, but I will find that out and I will get back with you. I know the funds weren't used for something else. Those funds can only be used for the thing that they were applied for. But the grant, they announced the grant, but sometimes it comes in particular years. And I do not know if we've received the funding yet. That is something I will find out and let you know. That's all I have.
Thank you. Chair Blair has stepped away, but it sounds like he hasn't muted his microphone. So we're gonna talk over him.
I thought he had a comment.
Chair Blair, there he goes. All right, thank you. I'm going to take over for a minute while he stepped away. Any comments from the council members?
I have a couple comments. So I just want to say that even though sometimes we have, our differences and we have to voice opinions, and it feels like maybe there might be a little bit of contention going on. I also recognize a lot of the great things that everyone does, that the administration is doing. And, like Mark said, the airline is the airline deal. It's really a wonderful thing, and the BRT. And so I just want to extend my appreciation to the administration for not only that, but for all the other fish they have to fry on a daily basis. That I'm sure it's not easy to be dealing with everything that comes their way. When I ran for office, a lot of people told me that sometimes this job, they call it a thankless job, and sometimes it feels like that. So anyway, just thank you for all the cool things that are also happening in our city. A lot of reasons to celebrate all the positive things. Thank you.
Vice Chair. I'd like to just echo what Council Member Lopez mentioned. That's why we have our city council. We have an opportunity to voice and give our ideas. And when it comes down to the final action, then if whatever is voted upon, then it's my pleasure to recognize our council as coming in and supporting that has been passed. So I thank Louise for that opportunity, and that's just the special nature of our council. I attended that groundbreaking, and I can relate to the talk of the gondola. I can relate to the talk of the trolley going up 25th Street. And I can also relate to the BRT. As the mayor mentioned, this project of the BRT is generation impact. It will influence not only our present generations, but future generations of development within the city and within the destinations that the BRT travels to, Weber State University and to the hospital. As we looked at the line in Salt Lake, that they have there, they've built several other lines off of that. And that is the potential of this BRT, that once it becomes successful, then other lines will be spurred off of this line that we created. But you have to start someplace, and you have to begin someplace down the line. It has been up to, as Mark mentioned, 20 years, and I sat in many meetings and questioned whether this project was going to be funded, or whether the project was even going to be built. There was many questions about that, but through constant perseverance and the work with not only the city and past councils and this council, our state leaders and also our federal leaders, were able to see the groundbreaking happen this afternoon. The question is would it be fundable? And the only reason we did the groundbreaking is because it is fundable. I congratulate those who were supportive of the trolley. I think they had a part in developing this BRT. They had to develop in that they kept us envisioned of what needs to be taken, what transit project needs to be developed in Ogden. Even though we didn't get the trolley, and one of the reasons was expense, but still they kept us envisioned of what needs to be done. And I appreciate the efforts of those who were looking at the trolley system. So I'm happy to see and glad to see this project being developed and taken care of. And I think we will benefit in generations upon generations to come.
Any other comments? I want to follow up. I know we've talked a lot about the BRT, but one of the things that really impressed me today is the ability for access to opportunities. And I think we forget that not only are people having and struggling with having places to live, but they also have and struggle with places and how to get around and mobility. And this is an opportunity for people to take the front runner, get on a BRT, and go up to Weber State and have classes, or go to McKay Hospital and get their services. And I think that we forget sometimes about access to opportunities. And I think this is more than just a bus line. This is something that will make our community better. And not only that, I mean, from the decreasing pollution and increasing our air quality, because people are riding the bus, and that we have electric buses, and it's a pretty awesome thing. And I know that people are going to start to complain as soon as the roads start to get all torn up, and we're putting these great bus stops in. But the other thing that we didn't mention, or maybe I don't know, maybe Mark Johnson mentioned this, but there's 3-year free passes for us. That there was a CMAQ grant that we're able to ride this for free for 3 years to try it out, to see how it works. And not only is it running, it's running between 10 and 15 minutes at a time, which is great, because a lot of times these are 30-minute 30-minute turnaround times, and that's not enough. That's not good enough. So I want to just also say that there's a lot of work that went into not just the physical aspect of putting a bus on and going up and down the street, but really access to opportunities for our populations and other populations that are coming in. And so it's a really great thing for our community. So I just wanted to show that O-Town still has our grit with everything that we're doing. So that's my comment. Any other comments? Great, Chair Blair is not back yet. So that means any
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Chburka to adjourn. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Didn't think so. All right, we have another meeting here. And as soon as we're ready, we'll get started on that one.
Vice Chair White?
Yep.
Just a comment, or a question, I suppose. Since we tabled the BDO lease revenue, is there, well, never mind, I'm confused. I'm just wondering if there's any reason to do that for quality neighborhoods, but I don't think so in Synchrony Bank. So yeah, never mind.
Good question. I look at that as well.
Vice Chair White, we are good to go whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. Well, welcome everyone to the Redevelopment Agency meeting of April 13th, 2021. Please note that all council members are present. However, board member Nadolski has asked to be excused tonight. I will get this right one of these days. Board member Chair Blair is temporarily will be back soon. So with that, moving on to the approval of minutes. The closed session of January 26, 2021. Board member Chburka.
Yes, Vice Chair, I've read those minutes and found them to be accurate, and I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by board member Chburka and second by board member Lopez. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next on the agenda is two common consent items. One is the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment, the Swift site, the Weaver River environmental remediation, and the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment for the 4C property purchase. These are both common consent items, setting the public hearing for April 27th, 2021.
Vice Chair White, I'll make a motion that we approve the common consent agenda and set the public hearing for these two items up to April 27th.
I second.
We have a motion by board member Heyer, second by board member Lopez. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next on the agenda is reports from the administration. And the first item is Quality Neighborhoods Initiative Program Renewal. And I'm assuming that Ward Ogden is going to present that again.
Yes, I will. Share my screen. See if I can do this. Okay. Oh, share. Okay, as discussed in the city council meeting, we're discussing the renewal of the Quality Neighborhoods Initiative for fiscal year 22. I'll try to be quick in the discussion because we have talked through all this already. Appreciate the comments and feedback that were given in the council meeting. The Quality Neighborhoods Initiative was adopted in November of 15 as a joint initiative of the City Council and the RDA and the Mayor. It's a vision for urban renewal, and the mission is to stabilize and revitalize Ogden's neighborhoods as neighborhoods of choice by establishing a pattern of public investment that catalyzes desirable and appropriate community development. It involves a number of sections having to do with the primary focus of health and vitality of neighborhoods, with some guiding principles that facilitate policy-making decisions, a framework for implementing those mission and principles, and some targeting and resource development and marketing strategies. The original focus was the downtown area neighborhoods, and there was a reason for that. Had to do with the negative effects of policy decisions of the 1950s, where high density zoning was put in place, which created opportunities for large scale intrusions and disinvestment in the overall living environment of the community, and a lot of investment and people moving out of the community. So we're kind of pushing back against that and trying to do some redevelopment. At the same time, we're doing a number of projects citywide. The Own in Ogden program, the HELP program with low interest loans for home improvements, some emergency home repair loans, homes that are fixed up and sold to moderate and low income home buyers, and some volunteer partnership grants. Those are things that are available citywide. Just to quickly reiterate the accomplishments that have been done over the past year: 88 projects. Oops, sorry. The mouse is moving. 88 projects with 92% addressing low and moderate income households. These are mainly funded with the federal funds that we receive, which represent about 80% of the funds available through the Quality Neighborhoods program. So most of the work that's done is to address affordable housing and help people get into homes. Anyway, and as we talked in the prior meeting, there's a lot of opportunity for discussion as to future programs and future initiatives, future ways of doing affordable housing, but it's all under this umbrella. And not all strategies are laid out, but there are opportunities for strategy development and policy development that are predicted, such as the adoption of the and the facilitation of the update of the East Central Community Plan. So that's one opportunity for that discussion to take place. Historically, some accomplishments: we've done $65 million in investment in all these community development projects, just to give the public an understanding of what's been done over time. If just look at the numbers of how many homes have been fixed up and how many have been sold, and almost 2,000 down payment assistance loans, and a lot of redevelopment work has been done. And the participants have generally been Ogden residents who have fairly low incomes, moderate to low income, in the $55,000 range. That's kind of the average. Our Quality Neighborhoods funds, the BDO funds, were spent on mainly land acquisition, putting projects together. Those projects are partially funded, partially done, and they need to be finished. So they're not all the way done. There's discussion as to how those things can occur, but we obviously are recommending that we continue funding. $3 million was spent on that acquisition, and $2.4 million was spent on repayment of the Synchrony Loan amounts that were borrowed. We received $1 million in proceeds that gave us some money back, and we have about $400,000 right now. The Synchrony loan was a $5 million loan. We only drew down 2.4 million of it, used it for land acquisition, and it was repaid through the use of the Quality Neighborhoods funds. The recommendations are that we continue focusing on the East Central as much as possible, but a significant portion of the programming and the funding is available citywide, as we just mentioned. We're focusing on historic properties where possible, and then also taking advantage of creating best practice examples for implementing city codes and ordinances. And one of the examples is accessory dwelling units. But as we just talked, if new policies are developed and new opportunities are given, then obviously we would try to initiate some best practice examples of those as well. So the recommendation is a 5-year renewal with $1 million of Quality Neighborhoods funding, and also renewing the Synchrony Bank line of credit. And that's the presentation.
Thank you, Ward. Are there any questions for Ward or comments amongst board members?
Okay, maybe we could move on to the, unless you want to vote on this one. I mean, maybe you need to vote on this one first, and then we can vote on.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and vote on this one and then move on.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion on the Quality Neighborhoods initiative.
Chairman, I'll make that motion that we adopt proposed resolution 2021-5.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Stevens and a second by Board Member Heyer to adopt proposed resolution 2021-5. This is a roll call vote.
Board Member Taberka,
No.
Board Member Heyer,
Aye.
Board Member Lopez,
No.
Board Member Stevens,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Blair.
Yes, that passes. Next, we'll do the Synchrony Bank line of credit, and we'll have Ward Ogden again.
I found the unmute button. I'm sorry. Took me a little
There
bit.
we go.
Okay. The Synchrony loan is a $5 million loan that was arranged for at the inception of the Quality Neighborhoods program 5 years ago. It's been renewed. It had a shorter term than 5 years. It's recommended that we renew it again. It's a mechanism that's used for providing a front for some of the money that's repaid in the future in case opportunities come up for land acquisition that exceed the amount that we have available in that given fiscal year. So as we mentioned earlier, we borrowed $2.4 million that was needed because we didn't have enough money in our account at the time. And then we repaid it in a future year. So the terms are the same. There's no recommended change to the terms. It's a $5 million line of credit, a 4-year term, 24-month draw period, very low interest rate. It's based on the constant maturity treasury rate plus margin of 1.9%. It's a first lien position on any unimproved property that's acquired with the funds, and it needs to be CRA eligible. So that's Community Reinvestment Act. So these are low and moderate income projects and or low and moderate income neighborhoods. And it's repaid based on a couple of criteria. If we sell the property, then the money has to go back, or 3 years from the disbursement date or the termination of the loan. And we do make quarterly interest payments. So again, these are the terms that were established last time. The Synchrony Bank folks are great to work with. They're very accommodating and are willing to partner with us, and they really appreciate the opportunity to help us with our redevelopment and revitalization efforts in Ogden. Are there any questions?
Ward, on the interest payments, when we sell a property or some properties, I noticed you said it's a quarterly interest payment. Does that apply to that payment also?
Right. Yes. If the property were sold, then certainly we'd roll up the interest at that point in time and pay the interest at that point.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ward Ogden? Okay. Thank you, Ward, for that presentation.
Ready for a motion?
Sure, thank you.
I have a quick question before we go
Okay.
on. So I know we've talked a lot about the help programs and all of that. So is it just for Quality Neighborhood Initiative programs that we're going to use that money for?
Yes.
Okay, Chair, then I will make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2021-6.
A second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Heyer and a second by Board Member Stevens to adopt proposed resolution 2021-6. This is a roll call vote.
Board Member Heyer,
Aye.
Board Member Lopez,
Aye.
Board Member Stevens,
Aye.
Board Member Chaburka,
No.
Vice Chair White,
Yes.
Chair Blair.
Yes, thank you. That passes. Board Member Chaburka, would you like the opportunity to give your reason?
Yes, just in following with the reasons that I voted against renewing the Quality Neighborhood Program, as well as that although there are many great things that have come out of the program, I'm concerned that we don't have explicit language anywhere dedicating it to more innovative approaches for other kinds of developments besides the single family home.
Okay, thank you. Next up is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the board regarding concerns or ideas on any topic. Comments regarding questions posed during public comment. Questions posed during public comment will be noted and may be answered at the end of all public comments. If the council has the answers to the, or if the board has the answers to the question, the board may choose to respond to those questions. For those questions that relate to administrative matters, the mayor may choose to respond to those during his comment period. I don't see anyone new on there that didn't hear the instructions last time, so we'll go ahead and just open it up to public comment. Those with their hands raised can participate. And first is Angel Castillo. Go ahead, Angel.
Good evening, Angel Castillo, Ogden residents. I too side with Angela Chaburka in not supporting moving forward with the Quality Neighborhood Program. until we have a finite plan. And I also support everything about, there are some great things about this program, and we do some things really, really well, but we have to change how we're looking at building homes. Just to kind of revisit it again, the average Stonehill home built by Ogden is about 1,900 square feet on a 6,500 square foot lot, and Tempe, Arizona has built micro estates, which are 600 individual homes, including 1 bathroom, 1 bath, and a small back patio. And why 600 square feet? That is the minimum square footage to qualify for a mortgage or federal subsidies. To put that in perspective, you could have 4 micro estates of 600 square feet with 600 square feet in a backyard on 1 piece of property for a single family home that we built for Stonehill. If we want to make homes affordable to people to start off, to build equity, to build credit, they have to own. And so I'm encouraging you, while you move forward to budgeting, that you must withhold financing the Quality Neighborhoods program until there's a finite plan to adjust how we approach building our housing. And I wanted to talk about community land trust versus land trust. Both are great things, and I fully support both of them. A land trust is exactly what Councilmember White laid out, where the city holds the property to make sure that they can control the rate. I would encourage you to look into what other cities are doing with a community land trust. And a community land trust is the city owns the property, and the people who purchase the homes own the homes with a 99-year lease. This allows them to finance because it's a structure. This allows them to build equity, and this allows them to sell and to move on as the city grows. It also keeps it so that there's more accessibility, and the city isn't necessarily stuck being a rental property owner. And as we all know with the Quality Neighborhoods program, whenever someone owns a home, there's a bigger commitment to upkeeping that home. I encourage you to look at what other cities are doing. We cannot continue to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. It's not going to happen. We cannot control the free market, but a landholder to help people get into homes, whatever that may look like. And that may not be a standard 2,000 square foot single family home. It might be a townhome. It might be a condo. It might be a micro estate. We have to be creative. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to keep up with our citizens and the rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Okay. I see one other hand. Go ahead, Heath Sato. The time is now yours.
Hi, Heath Sato, Ogden resident. I just wanted to back up what Angel just said and what Councilmember Chaburka and Councilmember Lopez have been saying, that we need to look at these things and consider them. I'm really concerned that in a few years, we're going to be looking back and going, I really wish we had done something then and started the process, because now we're like in a bind. We find ourselves in this position a lot in the city, where we have to quickly address something as best as we can that we should have started addressing years ago. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Heath. Oh. I don't see any other hands raised. So with that, we will go ahead and take comments from the administration.
Thanks, Chair. I don't normally do this, but where I have you all here, and I know this is the RDA meeting, I do have an answer to the sidewalks. I've been working on that. The sidewalk that Sebastian brought up. We did get some funds, but it wasn't enough. It was a CMAQ grant that we got that was about $555,000. It's not enough to complete the project. We are in the budget we'll be bringing you in a couple of weeks. We're going to ask for the remaining $150,000 we need to complete the sidewalk. If we can get that appropriated, in the budget, then their hope is to have the sidewalk completed before the school year. Hopefully that answers the question. That's all I have.
Thank you. Comments from board members?
Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to ask Mark, does that mean that the project will be completed after we pass the budget, or will it be completed before then?
There's economy of scale to have a contractor come do it all at once. And so I think Justin's been waiting to do the project until we have all the money, and then we get more for our money that way.
Any other comments from board members?
Yeah, I have a quick comment. So just so I want to be clear, I do know the difference between a community land trust and just a land trust. And I was actually speaking about the community land trust where people were able to have an asset and buy an asset. But I want to also bring up that that every city across the state has to follow SB 34 guidelines. And one of the things that we keep forgetting in our city is that we don't have to take on the whole brunt of trying to figure out how to make everything affordable in our city, that there's other cities contiguous to us that need to do the same. And that they need to quit looking at their acre lands and start to look at more ways to bring in housing and housing density. So SB 34 has been out there to actually help all of our cities try to work as one. And I'm not sure that we're there yet, but I do know that our reports probably due very soon again, or if not, maybe we can get an update on when our report went out, but all the cities are supposed to be putting that together. So I just want everybody to remember that it's not just Ogden that's having to deal with it. Every other city has to, based on legislative law. So.
Great point. Thank you.
Chair, if I could add to that a little bit, I wish I knew what they called SB 34. I mean, that was actually SB 34-3. And so it was named something. I don't know what it is, but you know, as I look around our fair city, and we are so built out, we have very few parcels of bare land to develop on. And if you looked at a Google map of the county, there is a lot of land around the county, just to add to board member White's point of view. And that's kind of what I am so concerned about is if we are trying to take on we already are taking on almost the whole burden of affordable housing for the county. And to continue to double down on that. Yeah, I want my kids to have somewhere to live too, but they don't have to live necessarily in Ogden. They could live in Plain City, and I'd be happy. Or Marriott Slaterville, or West Haven, or South Ogden, or Roy. I mean, those places, some of them are becoming a little bit more aware of the conditions that were in that SB 34 and are coming up to the plate, stepping up to the plate. I think where we can really help is if we, we've done that. We could help them to vision that for their communities better. It would then increase the supply of housing, which would lower the cost, around the whole county. I guess that's kind of where I get really concerned if we try to carry the whole burden and continue to try to carry more of it, just because we see the need at a cost to our community. We need to worry about our tax base a little bit. We need to worry about some of that median income. Angela, you're absolutely right. Things are way too much money, and I'm not sure there's an easy fix to that. But but I think we need to start looking at our housing issue more regionally and less just as a city. And so that's kind of why I continue to push back a little bit on some of these things where we still want to keep looking at smaller and cheaper all the time.
I do have a comment now.
Please.
I was gonna hold off, but now I feel like I have to say something. Not that I don't disagree with everything both of you said, but then it sounds to me a little bit like maybe the city should get out of the business of being developers then. So if we don't want to be dictating what it is, then maybe we don't need to be doing this job anymore. Maybe the developers can just do it. The market can just do it. So it's like, if we're actually doing it, then we can have some parameters about how we want to approach it and think about how we want to protect the people that live here. I appreciate the idea that, oh, well, people can just move somewhere else. That's where they should go. But I'm really invested in investing in the people that live here and making pathways for them to build wealth here and not move out when they become capable of doing that. I want them to stay. So that's my perspective.
Thank you. I noticed that Sebastian was on earlier and he did ask the question and Mark just answered it, but he's not on now. So if we could somehow get that information to him, that would be wonderful.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, again, just really, really appreciate everyone and, the candid conversations that we get to have and the difficult conversations that we get to have, because that's really what it is. It's just difficult conversations. Again, the nature of the work that we do. And I really, really respect everyone's point of views. That doesn't mean that we always agree, right? We disagree all the time. It's healthy, it's okay. And so just, kind of a counterpoint to Councilmember Heyer's comment, just recent comment, I would say, I have a different point of view about, even though I know that eventually it might happen, again, market forces, that kind of thing, and if we can't avoid it, we can't avoid it. About people moving out of Ogden and going somewhere else. I think if that happened because people wanted that, then that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But if it's happened because people are being priced out of the market and they cannot afford to live in Ogden, then I think that's a concern. I think anyone can understand the pride that a lot of people have about living in a particular city and wanting to. I mean, most people I talk to, we went through these during our branding process, and how kind of the tagline, it wasn't an official tagline, but it was an unofficial tagline. We just freaking love it here, right? And so that's kind of where I'm coming from, which is people just love to be in Ogden. There's people just freaking love to be here. The trails and the culture and all these kinds of things. And so I think about my kids, just like Councilmember Heyer mentioned. And in my case, I sometimes I think about me. Can I afford to continue to live here? That's sometimes I wonder that. And so, but at the same time, that's why in our earlier votes, when I voted no for some of these, some of our ordinances, I said that I don't know the answer. I don't know that the administration knows the answer. I don't know that all of us collectively know the answer, but I know that we won't know until we look into it. And so that's what I'm asking. I'm asking that we look into it and that and just in the same way, and this is where I also have to say something that is, it's part of it, could be part of the problem, and it's just the trust that it's going to happen, that we are going to have the conversation. So anyway, I think I've said enough. I think I explained myself, but I feel very comfortable. I feel very at peace. I love the debates. I love the different opinions. That's what democracy is, and it's good and it's healthy and it's fun to an extent. Because sometimes when we all agree on everything, doesn't it gets a little more monotonous. So anyway, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to letting me share a little bit of my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I make one more comment?
Please.
I really appreciate that, Board Member Lopez. I just want to say, whenever I'm, feeling passionate about something or disagreeing, sorry, the dogs are also involved. It's certainly never anything personal. It's just my own personal perspective. So I hope that everybody realizes that.
Yeah, and I just want to follow up by saying that if you just read any of the recent real estate information that came out, the average median home in Ogden is about $100,000 less than Roy, and it's like $200,000 less than Far West, and $500,000 less than Eden, and $1.6 million less than Huntsville. And I'm just saying that all I was trying to say is that there is SB 34 is meant to help with some of the impact that is happening with affordable housing around the state. And that's what I was trying to get at. And obviously, by the way, I am passionate about, it and the land that we own, that we should be doing what we need to be doing with it to keep it affordable. So I agree with you, but I'm just trying to explain that other cities they need to step up as well. So.
And that was my whole point too. I didn't, Angela, I think I maybe offended you, and I hope I didn't, but that wasn't my intention. So I think that SB 54 and its succeeding legislation that I think happened this last session, I think we are in compliance. Many of our surrounding communities are not.
Yeah, no, I know that. And I know there's great work that's happened. I just think that there's more we can do. That's all.
Anyway, that's all.
If that is all, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second, since nobody else.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Lopez and a second by Board Member Heyer to adjourn the RDA meeting. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, don't get blown away, everybody.
Latch it down everything tonight.
Take a walk around before you put your jabbies on.
That's right.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Take care.
Good night.